Here's a video on how to use the RMC control panel connected to an ATEM, and how we use the still button, which is this button here. There's one on the program row, one on the preview row, and what these buttons do in respect to the RMC to ATEM controller is it reallocates the 8 input buttons on the program and preview row to select stills from the media players. If we go over to the media player, you can see I've got all 32 allocated here. This is a 2ME, so it's got 32 still store capability, and so we can allocate any one of those 32 to any one of these 8 buttons, which I will show that in a separate video, but it's all configured through using the controller box in the configuration manager. We go down to set still cross points. I'll show that in the next video, but for the moment we're just going to quickly show you how you can use this directly on the front panel. So I've already got allocated stills for the 8 inputs, and I'm pretty sure I've got them allocated to stills 1 to 8. And stills 1 to 8 are over here. You've got numbers identifying each one, 6, 7 and 8. Now, when to select the still, the first thing we do is we press the still button. So let's say I want to select a still on the program row. In selecting the still on the program row, the program lights flash forwards and backwards, indicating it's waiting to select a still. Now, we still haven't actually selected the still yet because it's waiting. You can see that we're still on the last program allocated up in here, so we haven't actually changed anything yet. But as soon as we select any one of the preset still buttons, it will change. Now, the first thing it does when we select a button, it finds an available media player. Because there's only one program row, one preview row, and there's only 2 media players, well, then we've got enough media players for each allocate to each of the 2 buses. But the allocation is done automatically, so that if neither the program or the preview row are on still, program row will allocate media player 1 and the preview row will allocate media player 2. But if the preview row is already on media player 1, then the program row will automatically select media player 2. That'll all make sense to you a little later on. So first thing we're going to do is, let's say we want to select a still on the program row. So let's just select the button number 1, which I think has got allocated still number 1. And if you have a look up on the program row, it's got still number 1. And if you have a look at the ATEM, we're on media player 1 because it's, as I mentioned before, that's what it will default to if nothing else has a media player on it. So subsequently, the still light is on. We're no longer flashing because we know what we're on. And if you have a look at the actual status display on the front of the controller, you see no longer says program, although the preview row shows preview because it's still not on still, and it's actually on the preview row. So it's showing the actual graphic name, or the still name, which is the file name. And if you have a look at the media player, the media stills, you probably can't see it. My phone is on a cable, so I can't move it, but the actual names are up here. Let me see if I can do a zoom on here. Oh, look, I can do a zoom on here. So you can see there's the names underneath, and so those names are automatically downloaded into the controller, and you can actually see them if you've got a port connected to the USB. And over here you can see These are all the names that are downloaded. These are the names that are now stored inside the the controller for the RCM. So and we can actually view those. If I just go question mark for help, you can see down here it says one of the buttons display still names, and if I now just go press that S, and there they all are there. This is as different to if you press the N key. That shows you the ATEM source names, and the S key shows you the current stills that are in the still store. Now if any time I delete one, let's just say I'm going to delete still number 2, it's now gone. You see it's empty. If I come back over here again and have a look, you'll see that number 2 is now empty. It's got no still in it. And again, of course, if I then reload that again, let me just go over here and bring number 2 back in again. And then we go back over to here, go S, enter. You'll see now it's been reloaded again. So it's always been kept up to date. So no matter what changes you make on the ATEM, it will all be updated down here. So these names that you see down here will always be accurate. If I now go to the second button, which is called labeled number 1, which is up here, I go to there, you'll see now it's following the numbers, the actual names. I just noticed a little bug there. The first character disappeared for a moment. We'll get that fixed. So you can go all the way. There it goes, missing again. So you can actually, you'll see the number on the end here, because that's the file name, part of the file name. And we go back up to, let's come back. Okay, so that's the program row. Now, as I said, when you select the still button, it will find an available media player. Now I'm going to select the still button on the preview row. So what I'm expecting to see, I am full of confidence, I'm expecting to see media player 2 get selected, because it's going to look and say, oh well, hang on a minute, media player 1's already being used, I'm going to use media player 2. So of course we're going to hit the still button, and now it's looking for me to make an input, and as I said, we still haven't selected a media player yet because we haven't selected a still. So our preview monitor is still on what it was last selected. So we come down here and I'm going to select, say, button number 5, and button number 5 should be still number 5. So we go up here, no, number 6, sorry, because button number 5 is actually button number 6. Input 5 is button number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So okay. So there you can see that you've got the correct still, and if you look down in here, you'll see that it's actually allocated media player 1 to the program row, media player 2 to the preview row. And of course, we can be changing our stills up here on the preview row as we go. There's a handy little trick I'll show you later on in the next video, when you can actually use the configuration. You can actually use that to do live changes of any still, on preparing it on the preview row for putting it online. Okay, so now once we have, we can see we've got a still on the program row, and it's on button, the third button, which is button number 2, and we've got a still on the preview row, which is on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th button, which is button number 4. So now we're going to do a, I'm just going to do a wipe between the two, and as you see, we do a wipe between the two. It's now changed flip the stills, which as you'd expect, and you'd see it's flipped the media players as you'd expect. So then, if we then come down here and start changing again on the preview row, you'll see it's actually changing media player 1, because it now knows that it's flipped media players so that you can always preset your preview row without it ever affecting your program row unless you press the program row button. And again, I'm going to move the fader again. I'll just move it up here and you'll see it as I move the fader. You can hardly see that white because there's nothing changing, but you can see now it's flipped. Do it again. You see it's flipped, and we do it again. It's flipped. So and we'll do the auto transition as well if you want. There's an auto trans. You can actually see the. I just move that. You can see the just over the number on the right screen. You can see the white edge. But so the whole concept is to be able to preset your still and either transition to it, or you can just live cut your stills as you go. But the trick with the changing the stills live to any still is that will be in the next video. Now, so once you want to come out of still, let's say we've gone through to that still on the program row, and that's on air, so we've got still number 6 is on air. Let's say we want to come back to live action. So that's all we do on the preview row is that we deselect the still, nothing's changed yet, and then we work out what source we want. I'm going to go to that source, and then if you look up here you see it's no longer on the still store, and then we can do our little transition, and there we are back on there. But you'll notice now that the preview row is now on the still store. I'm going to go back to the put the still store on the program row, and you can do the same thing live on air. As if you now want to come off that still and cut back to picture, it simply is all you do is deselect the still button, and you'll see nothing has changed here, nothing has changed up there, but it's not until we press the input buttons, the 8 input buttons, and then because we don't have still selected, it's not going to select a still. And before I do that, you'll also notice that our status screen down here is still showing that we've got graphic number 6 on program row, and you'll see graphic number 6 up here is in fact on program row. So now that I've got still button off, I can then say select camera, whatever's on that one there, and focus first, and now if you have a look up here, you'll see that we're not going back to the normal program, and you'll see the tally follows. And whilst I'm doing that really slow, I'm going to do it a bit quicker now. I'm just going to go, okay, I want to select still number 3, and there it is, cut straight up there. And I'm going to do it again without taking the finger off here. I'm going to deselect still and go cut to camera 2, and there it is there. I want to go back to a still again, and this is doing hot cuts, and I'm going to go to number 7, and there's number 7, and I'm going to go to number 3, there's number 3, and now we're going to transition out to a camera, and there we go there. Just to summarize that, we are using these 8 buttons to select any inputs that are preset, as I showed you in a previous video. But by using the still button, we can then use the same buttons to select a still, or any still, and those stills can be any of the 32 stills that are available in the let me go back over to here, in the media players. And you don't have to worry about selecting media players. It does that automatically for you because it's waiting for it's looking for an available media player. And I'll just quickly show you that before I wrap this up. So you can see here now that the preview row is on media player 1. Now that's normally the default that the program row will take, but when we go to select still, it's going to know that it can't use media player 1 because it's already being used. So if I select the still button, you'll see it selects media player 2 because it sees media player 1 as being used. The next video about setting up the allocations for all the stills, it's going to be a bit longer because it's quite involved, and in fact it's probably the trickiest bit of software I've ever had to write in my life. Anyhow, but it's done. Thank you for your attention.